We're going to start the meeting. It's 9 o'clock. Roll call. We have everybody here except the deputy chief.
Is your microphone on?
And I should remember to turn my microphone on, which you just reminded me. Roll call. We have everybody here except the deputy chief. Declaration of pecuniary interest. Seeing none. Can I get a confirmation of the agenda?
That the board adopts the minutes noting no errors or omissions.
Can I get a mover and seconder? Vice Chair Barber and Member Graves. All those in favor? And that's carried. Minutes. Can I get?
Oh, sorry, we did
Oh,
confirmation.
sorry. Yeah, no confirmation of the agenda, the minutes. Delegation, we'll move on to delegations. We're going to move things around a bit because we do have a delegation from PC Long and PC McCollum, so we're going to bump them to our first delegation. So are they just in the back? You want to grab them? So welcome, gentlemen. The floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Chair, Chief, members of the PSB, and other guests. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Scott McCallum. I'm a part-time member of the Aylmer Police. I'm here with my colleague, Steve Long. And first off, thank you very much for having us. We have a presentation that is really important to us, and I believe the board and the community of Aylmer itself. When Steve and I aren't fulfilling our duties as police officers for the town, we started a charitable organization 4 years ago, pardon me, when the war in Ukraine took place. And that was providing humanitarian relief and needs of people in law enforcement, the military, and other humanitarian causes. And one of those causes that when we were over there, and both Steve and I have been 3 times since the war started, one of those causes when we were at the police academy was the lack of personal protective gear, in particular body armor that Steve's wearing, that I'm wearing, that the chief wears, that every police officer wears. And in particular, it struck really hard with female officers. There was no more female body armor available over there. So sitting around one day, we came up with the idea, how could we get a set of body armor from each law enforcement agency in Ontario, being about 50, give or take, so we could solely give to 50 sister officers so they could have protective gear when they're out there policing in communities that on the front lines that have Ukraine's taken back from the Russians, and now stability drills are taking place there where law enforcement, emergency services, and that sort of stuff where these people are deploying. Well, from there it kind of manifests to much bigger need for body armor. So just sitting around kind of how we are, this regular people, myself, Steve, and another co-founder, policing is kind of a small community, and who could we reach out to, and how could we do this? So a couple of the bigger forces really stepped up, and quite comparable, being a smaller police service, being Aylmer, when the chief was our deputy, when he came on ground, and he was getting to know us and our background, what we were doing, and kind of cleaning house. We approached him with the idea that the unused body armor, rolled up body armor per our standard, that kind of has a shelf life of 7 years, give or take, which is debatable. It's still very good and still useful. Instead of paying kind of astronomical disposal costs to recycle it, which is kind of a whole other topic, we had a legitimate cause where this body armor could go. So as a result of that, in 2024 alone, our organization, which is the Canadian Ukrainian Logistics Organization, shipped over 1,000 sets of body armor, and I'm really happy to report to the chief and the PSB and the other distinguished guests here that Aylmer played a significant part of that, where the excess body armor that we had laying around the station that the chief was able to provide us through, I'm assuming, the blessing of the PSB, which is awesome. We were able to hand deliver that, myself and Stephen, our colleague, a good portion of the body armor that Aylmer gave us directly hands-on to one of the police academies in Ukraine, which is in a city called Rivne. We have a very good relationship with the commandant there and the staff, and both Steve and I, because it being members of the Aylmer Police and how important, we value the chief and his commitment, that we didn't want to take any chances of losing anything. Not that we've ever lost anything in 3 years, but both Steve and I wanted this body armor in particular where we could hand it off, so we know our stuff from our town went to a group of people that need it. I know I don't have a lot of time, but I did, as we've done for the other police services, that's our annual report, some of the things that COD has done. I'm not going to go through it, it's for record for the board and for your own readings, but the big thing why we are here is some recognition came from the government of Ukraine and from the police academy, in particular, and then some recognition to the board. So I think we'll start off by recognizing the board, because it was their property essentially that we were able to get permission from the chief, and he was able to cascade it down to us. So we have a certificate from our organization, the Canadian Ukrainian Logistics Division. So I'd love to call up the chair and be able to present this, Steve and I, to present this certificate to the Aylmer PSB. Steve.
So the certificate reads, "For your continued support in the fight for freedom in Ukraine. Your support in the area of providing police body armor has saved numerous police lives and has had a profound effect on a number of Ukrainian police officers serving honorably during the war in Ukraine." Signed this date, the 11th of April, 2025. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you both, gentlemen.
Yeah, it's one thing for us to get the donations, especially the larger bulk donations that we have to put in sea cans, and then a month and a half later, it actually arrives on ground in Ukraine. It's completely different when we pack items into a suitcase, we jump on a plane, land in Poland, and travel into Ukraine, and then to actually hand that over at the police academy in Rivne, to see it go on to the police officers that are in their training. While they're doing training, high-risk takedown was the actual date that we were there to see the body armor on the officers. It's such a different feeling to know and to actually see this body armor now being used there when, its usefulness here was done. So from the Rivne Police Academy, a huge thank you to the Aylmer Police Services Board.
And it doesn't end there too, and people are pretty ingenious, because some of the pieces weren't as, could maybe fit in the vest, they had seen better days. But a bit of a side note, every piece is not wasted. So the panels that are inside a vest, I don't know if anyone's had the opportunity to see what panels look like, maybe another time, but some of the vests that weren't serviceable for wear, those panels, they would stitch them together, and they would make blankets to put over top of the trenches or entrance into foxholes or close protection areas to sew in case there were bombs or fragments. The Kevlar could kind of offer some sort of assistance. So every piece was used. So it's not like any of the ones that say were maybe a little worse for wear, where they got rid of in the garbage. Everything we brought was used. So it was a big help, and certainly greatly appreciated. So the next two awards that we have are solely for the chief, and as I said, when the chief was the deputy. He was really interested in what Steve and I were doing with this endeavor, and you know, we had his unwavering support and commitment, and as a result, when we were speaking to our contacts over there and different government officials and different people, as Steve mentioned, directly at the police academy, the commandant, she's actually been to Canada and certainly loves Canada, but when she found out, and knowing that, you know, there's different levels of approval we had to go through and what we had to do. Sorry, Chief. Take it out of Steve's pay.
We'll have to get a new frame, pardon the equipment failure. Hold it together good enough.
This first award is from the Ribbon Police Academy, and it's to our chief, and as a result, you know, directly from the commandant, you know, she's waiting to hear when we were able to get all these awards out. So our chief, you know, we'll be able to say we're very happy that we were able to present him this award and let her know, and she's able to report back to the people she needs to. And it's a beautiful award, and she was quite honored to do it, and a very heartfelt thanks to the chief for you know, stepping up and getting that equipment. And as I said, I wish we had more time. We could show you a video of them actually putting the vest on and wearing it during patrol operations. And I think we actually, someone forgot to take Aylmer off one of the little things, so I think you can actually see that, which is kind of cool. But so the certificates are in Ukrainian, so I'm going to ask the chief to come up to receive the first one and stay up, and I'll get Steve to read what it says.
Hold from the bottom, don't touch the top. 2 hands. So please understand that the literal translation, I'm using the Google Translate. So I know for a fact, working there for the year that I was there in 2018 and 19, that Google doesn't actually interpret. All it does is replaces the words. So understand that it says the State Institution of Professional and Technical Education with specific training conditions, the Rivne Patrol Police Academy. Gratitude is announced to Kyle Johnstone for cooperation, support, and assistance in the beginning of the full-scale Russian invasion on the territory of Ukraine. So again, it's just the translation is not accurate, but it's basically a thank you for the support.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. Okay, and the next one is really kind of, there's a bit of a story behind this one. If anyone has kind of kept up to date, do you remember the famous little dog Patron, the bomb sniffing dog that's maybe made kind of the news? And so we were in a place called Chivna, which is about 50 kilometers from where the Russians were.
Chernihiv.
Thank you. Yeah.
A year there helps me with the pronunciations.
So they were 50 kilometers from where the Russians had staged in Belarus, where we were. There was a lot of issues there in this particular area when the war started. A lot of senseless killings of civilians and a whole bunch of other unfortunate things. Their emergency management group, they are a little bit different from our emergency management in the sense they go out and they pick up all the ordnance and explosive bombs, and they detect, you know, where the bombs are, hence the little dog Patron. And well, Steve and I were in this region where they were, again, short of PPE gear, from earphones to ballistic eyewear, but most importantly, vests. And some of the vests that we had, you know, I'm not going to say they're 100% Aylmer, but I'm not going to say they aren't. So I believe they were, and we were able to give some of those vests to this particular organization. And again, wanting to know who our chief was, and you know, who was the sign off for us to deliver these goods. And sure enough, we were able to share that was the chief here who was able to do this. So they sent a beautiful certificate thanking the chief for giving such important humanitarian items. And you know, these guys and girls are going out clearing minefields, and you know, someone once said with all the mines, you know, it'll take 300 years before they're all cleared from Ukraine if it ever happens. So every little piece of support we can do to help these people is greatly appreciated. And again, it comes from you know, the chief's support and the board support and the community support. And so they sent the certificate, and I'll let you translate, Steve, and I'll give it to the chief.
Swap sides and then
Yeah.
we can. So this one is quite wordy, so I will be kind of shortening it a bit. The Main Department of the State Emergency Service of Ukraine in the Chernihiv region. Gratitude to Kyle Johnstone. The team of the Special Emergency Rescue Squad of the Main Directorate of State Emergency Services of Ukraine in the Chernihiv region would like to thank you from the bottom of our heart for the help that you are providing at a difficult time for our country. Your support, which you provide in order to preserve the life and health of the personnel of a part of pyrotechnics work, underwater, and humanitarian demining, contributes to the high quality and timely execution of humanitarian demining tasks of the settlements, infrastructure facilities of the Chernihiv region. We sincerely wish your team good health, harmony, family comfort, optimism, and strength in your difficult and much needed work. Victory to us all. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes. So the respects and gratitude, head of the department, Alexander T.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say, just on behalf of the service and the members that we have, like, there's volunteering and then there's volunteering. And what these gentlemen do with their other co-founder, you know, going to an actual place that is in war is unimaginable to any of us, which we're very fortunate. And, you know, regardless of anybody's position on, you know, right or wrong, people are dying, and the things that these guys are doing are saving lives. So we're happy to support it. And on behalf of the service, we're very appreciative of you guys. So thanks very much.
Thanks, chief. Unless you have any questions. Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Through the chair. Just a comment. The decision for the board to support this was quite easy. You folks deserve all the gratitude. It'll be nice when the folks in Ukraine do not need the body armor, and hopefully we'll get to that day soon.
Well, thank you very much. And you're right, it's like we said, we don't pay, we don't take any money, we don't do anything other than provide humanitarian aid. And it doesn't matter, like the first time we went, as an example, there was a lady, she was quite the animal lover, which is very nice, and she donated 1,000 pounds of dog food, because believe it or not, there's a lot of displaced animals over there. And, you know, when Steve and I came back, we were able to put hand on heart and say, you know, your 1,000 pounds of dog food made it. It wasn't dispersed to this group, to this group, to this group. And I think that's kind of the unique thing about us. If we say we're gonna get the aid and someone donates it, then, you know, our integrity is everything. But, you know, we can't do it without the support of the community or professional bodies such as yourself, and, you know, being able to go to our chief, who can then go to the board and you know, present what we'd like to do, and it goes full circle. And the nice thing is, you know, by doing it this way, kind of grassroots, we kind of steer clear of that bureaucracy sometimes, and, you know, especially when you're getting stuff into a foreign country. And I know the first time when Steve and I were at the border, you know, I think it was day 86 after the war had started, and the trucks were taking 3 weeks, and there were shanty towns, you know, for the truckers, and we were like, well, there's no way we can wait 3 weeks to get to a country with all this humanitarian aid coming, and it worked out for us. But that's the nice thing. So when we do come back, we're able to say, you know, the chief gave us 30 vests. Well, we know where those 30 vests went. They weren't going anywhere that they shouldn't have been, and that's kind of keeps it real for us and how we do it. So thank you, because it does mean a lot. It really does.
And just as a last side note, if we look at a percentage comparison between Toronto, a major service, and their donation of body armor, and we compare it to Aylmer, and even though ours was way less, percentage-wise, we matched what Toronto said.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Hold on, before you guys go, I just wanted to say that, again, echo what Vice Chair Barber was saying. It's amazing to see what you two are doing. I've had the pleasure of being able to sit down with Steve and chat about this a bit, and I was just amazed because, like the chief said, you guys are taking volunteering to the next level. And this is just an example of what can happen, like small town, small police service, but you're making a tremendous difference. So, and halfway across the world. So thank you very much. And I won't speak on behalf of the board, but myself, I'd be happy to see you come back and do a presentation with a video so we could kind of see that. Be definitely very interested in seeing that, but I think the board would probably too. Sure. Right. Very happy to do that. Thank you both.
Thanks.
Do a resolution?
All right, can we get a resolution for that presentation?
That the presentation from PC Steve Long and PC Scott McCallum from the Canadian-Ukrainian Logistics Division be received for information.
I get a mover and seconder. Member French and Member Andrews, all those in favor? And that's carried. All right, thank you. And then we'll go to the next delegation. The floor is,
Seems rather unimportant in the, like what just happened. Oh dear, all right. I'm guessing they're coming up here. Are they up? I'll bring them up. Okay, perfect, thank you. All right, my name is Christine Scrimger. I am the auditor for the town of Aylmer, and as such, I'm also the auditor for the Police Services Board. I'll just give a little bit of a preamble that I always do. As the auditor of the town, we still consider your audit as independent auditors. So we look at expenditures and revenues within the Police Services Board to ensure that those expenditures that have been charged to the police services are actually police service expenditures. And so we do that work. So we do the audit separate from the town and are independent, and we reduce materiality and everything regarding the police services to ensure that we've done the proper work on the board itself. And so just that, I'd like to thank the treasurer, Heather, and her staff for all their assistance during getting this audit done, as well as the chief himself, who has to answer a bunch of my questions, so I appreciate that. So the auditor's opinion is dated as of today's date. Under Canadian auditing standards, those charged with governance, which would be this board, must approve them, and so hopefully today we'll get these approved, and then they can be finalized. Moving forward, oh, I've got the thing, sorry. So this is the auditor's report declaring my independence, and then that's the date, which obviously is today's date. So this is the balance sheet, and so again, I'll remind you that this is the Police Services Board only, so the building itself and the land is in the town's books, and so just keep that in mind when we go through this. Accounts receivable have increased from last year significantly, and that's really just government grants. So again, keep in mind, first of all, that the province has a March 31st year end, so everything kind of is shifted a year from that date, because of that date. And then if you look at 2023's amount, things like court security and things, remember that was COVID, really that's the receivable with regards to the year that was mainly COVID. So again, things have changed significantly in 2024 because 2023, the COVID restrictions were lifted. So that's that. The due from town of Aylmer, the Police Services Board does not have its own bank account, and so this is really the amount that's in the town of Aylmer's bank account that would relate to the Police Services Board. Under accounts payable and accrued liabilities, most of that is wage and wage related expenditures, and then some other items. So that's just amounts that we pay in 2025 that relate back to 2024. The post-retirement benefits, as you remember, these are the benefits that are owed to officers and other staff that upon their retirement, they will get benefits until the age of 65. And so we take that amount in future dollars, present value it back into today's dollars, and that's the amount. And that is done by an actuary, an independent actuary. So they take all of your parameters and come up with these values. And so that's that overall liability. And then non-financial assets, so these would be, the main assets are obviously the cruisers, and then some work in progress. That's the work that was started in 2024 on doing some assessments of the building and its requirements for some changes. And then prepaid expenses, just insurance that we pay that that straddles the year end. So coming down to an accumulated surplus, it's actually a deficit, and that's because of that large liability up top. So that's the reason for that. And again, we've talked about that in the past. That's really just to keep that number in front of you to understand the value of what is owing to the officers and staff in the future years. Any questions on that statement at all?
Just a quick question, if I may, Christine.
Sure.
The post-employment benefit, it isn't really due until it's drawn upon. How do we budget that for that in each particular year?
So
Sorry,
so
I'm
we
just
do-
going to step in for a minute. Can you just remember to put your microphone on so everybody can hear?
If I can remember what I said.
Now I'm going to ask you to repeat, just for watching and they want to hear what your question was.
I can just,
Sorry.
I'll just, no, that's fine, I can hear. So basically, we do budget each year what the actual expenditure is for that year. What we don't budget for is inflation and all of those things that will change the estimate from the one year to the next year. So, and that's hard to budget because it's unknown, quite frankly. And the timing of when officers retire is also can change with circumstances, health circumstances, things like that. So it's difficult, but we do budget for the current year's expenditures.
Okay, so we are keeping pace with the expectations? The
Yes,
current
yes.
expectations? Okay, thank you.
Within what's happening, what we know to be happening at the moment.
Currently.
That can always change, of course.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right, so the next, somehow I'm over there now. There we go. The next statement is your income statement, or I call it your income statement. So this is your revenues and expenses. We have the 2024 budget as approved by the board and council, the actual, and then the actual comparison for 2023. That first line is where you see those grants, that increase flowing through there. And the receivable is really just a timing of when we get those monies. And then the requisition from Town of Aylmer, which is really the important, in my mind, shows that you basically budgeted and came right in at budget. I think it's out by about $800 or something, so it's very close for total revenues. And again, the increase is in the government grant area mainly. And that government grant, again, is not the Town of Aylmer, it's the ministry. Under expenditures, I don't have a whole lot to say. They're pretty consistent with both budget and actual. You'll see we budgeted just over $3 million down here of actual expenditures. And the actual is $3.1 million, but we don't budget for this amortization. So I'll remind you that the tangible capital assets are amortized over their lifetime. So those cruisers, which I mentioned were the major assets, and there's other equipment as well, but the cruisers would be the high dollar items. Are amortized. So if you added that, or took off that 55,000, you're almost bang on budget for expenditures. So don't have any concerns with any of those numbers as far as budget to actual and then comparison to last year. Again, wages being the majority of the costs, which is consistent with your budget. And the increase there is really just our estimate of the increase of inflation. And then on this last part is the actual police services board, and again, very close to budget amount. It's a little bit under the police services, or the actual police services was over, so in total, the net change is, I think about $300, so it was very close, which is pretty impressive on this kind of a budget. Any questions on that at all? And so there, Councilor Barber, you'll see the 30, so that's the net change in that estimate that we didn't budget for. So again, that will be your inflation piece on that $1 million, $1.5 million. Then we get to the statement of cash flows. I won't spend a lot of time on this. This is just the increases and decreases of the non-cash items on the balance sheet. And then this is the net change in assets, and again, we acquired 114,000 of new assets this year, and that, the majority of that was a cruiser for about 88,000, I believe it was. Get to the notes to the financial statements. I don't have a lot to say on these. So I'm just looking down here. The standard notes you'll see each year. What I would like to draw your attention to is the accumulated surplus. So this is a breakdown of that deficit, so the overall deficit there. But you'll see our reserve is 531,000. And then our net book value of our tangible capital assets went up significantly, and that's that new cruiser, really. I will also comment that within the reserve fund, we will, even though that reserve fund is the Police Services Board, it will be used for the building. And so this comment after, it relates to that work in progress. So that even though it's work in progress on the building, that surplus was built up for both that reserve fund was built up for both the police services and the building itself. So the money will come out of that reserve to help fund those renovations. Note number 6 is just a required for the public sector. And then these are the parameters of the actuary's report that was done on the post-retirement benefits. And then the final note is just on the dispatch contract you have that was re-signed again just in this year now. And that is my presentation, unless anyone has any questions.
Are there any questions from the board? Doesn't look like there's any questions. We made it easy for you today.
That's great. Okay, so then I'll just need to hear the
We get
approval.
the resolution on that?
That the report regarding final 2024 financial statements be received as information, and that the board approve the 2024 financial statements provided by Christine Scrimgeour.
I get a mover and seconder? Member French and Vice Chair Barber. All those in favor? And that's approved.
All right, thank
All
you.
right,
It's nice to
thank
see you all.
Good to see you. Thank you. All right. Any unfinished business? There's none. New business. I believe Member Graves has a report or an update, and I think we can add that in here, so I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, William. Chief, Deputy Chief, and myself went down to LaSalle on March 25th for our OAPSB Zone 6 meeting. Chair Pat Weaver and Executive Chair Lisa Darling, Pat explained how his time in the board, he's brought it up more from where it was, and he felt that has reached the point where he's going to stay on until 2027, but he needs some folks that are going to take it the next step. And also felt necessary that we have insurance, which we hadn't had in the past. I'll pass this around. Now, this is what we've paid previously as a board. Pat suggested that we had paid previously $55 a year. Pat suggested raising that to $200, which was passed. Part of the reason was, and we all got a newsletter recently, which we didn't used to get. That's part of the plan. And we used to get free services from Carolyn Cron through the County of Elgin, which probably is going to continue as well. So that's part of the reasons of needing the raise. Also informing everybody that the spring session will be June 3rd till the 5th at the Lamplighter Inn in London.
Yep, go ahead, Ron.
Just in relationship to the insurance issue that Chair Weaver brought up, that is for OPP detachment boards because they aren't an entity of the municipality. I would think that this board has insurance through the municipality, but subject to anything that you have to the contrary.
And you will notice that London had paid more than the rest of us. I did ask that. Were they gonna pay more than the 200? And Pat said no, he felt that 200 across the board for everybody was gonna be sufficient.
All right, any comments? No, thank you. Thank you for that. Now we're on to the reports, so I'm going to pass this over to the chief. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I won't belabor the news releases. They're mostly submitted for information, so we can, subject to any questions, jump ahead to 8.2, if that pleases the board.
We'll just do a resolution for 8.1, that the report of the chief of police regarding March media releases be received as information. Mover and seconder, okay, Member Andrews. And Member Graves, are you seconder? Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to 8.2, Chief.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, rather unremarkable in most lines of the budget, and frankly, right on track for the first quarter being completed. Obviously, the bulk being salary, benefits and wages, and we're right on the mark, which is as expected for us. Association fees, again, generally come in at the start of the year, so we're trending a little higher on that, but no issues with where we're going to finish up, we believe. One note I'll draw your attention to is 63474, which is one of our vehicles. We're at 102% of our maintenance budget of 4,000 already, but that was due to having a cruiser with 180,000 kilometers on it and 2 significant repairs. So knock on wood, with any luck, we should be in good shape with that for the rest of the year. And again, everything else right on track around the 25% mark for overall, sitting at 23. So subject to any questions, that's the police service operating budget.
All right, any questions? I apologize, I'm just dealing with a bit of an emergency, so I had to step out real quick. No questions on that resolution on that, or we just move on?
We still just have the board numbers here. I'll just run through real quick, if that's okay.
Yep.
Excuse me. Very unremarkable as well, 10% overall for the honorariums, and again, with the association fees and travel expenses, we're well under right now. So nothing of note on there, subject to any questions.
Seeing no questions? All right. Okay. Okay, we'll move on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 8.3, as I had indicated at the last several meetings, what we intend to do, the deputy and I moving forward, is more of a quarterly comparison than a monthly comparison, just to give a better picture of the data. You'll see with violent crime right now, we're trending well below, which is one of the ones we keep the eye on the most, which is excellent to see, sitting at 12 year to date. Property crime, also well below, to be expected though, with the generally the worst weather being in the wintertime. People are out committing less property crimes, so it's something we will keep an eye on for the nice weather moving forward, through some education to the public on social media, as well as the officers doing some proactive things, such as finding, as trivial as it may sound, finding open garage doors at night, prevent a break and enter and a significant dollar value potential problem. So drug crime, sitting at 4 charges, again, well below. This is kind of a feast or famine area in that regard right now, so we're doing pretty well in all senses there. Intimate partner violence, again, on track with last year, sitting at 11, rounding out the quarter. And motor vehicle collisions, again, 38 right now, but due in part to poor weather for the beginning part of the year, so that'll likely come down as well. 911 calls, we're at 38 year-to-date. And foot patrol, we're sitting at 66, which again is on par again with the poor weather. We aren't out there as much as we'd like to be, so let's see that increase with the nicer weather coming. Mental health, 12 bona fide mental health calls. That does not include the mental health worker follow-up calls that she conducts, basically running congruent to any other calls, whether it's just a domestic where, you know, people need resources on the back end. So that doesn't include her follow-ups. Those are 12 actual mental health police response calls where we need to determine if people are going to be apprehended or how they're going to be dealt with moving in that regard. And again, those trigger a follow-up as well. So year-to-date, Crime Stoppers, we've had 9. I've attended 3 high-risk domestic violence meetings, which in part with probation, the Crown's office, our agency, OPP in St. Thomas. I've had 14 community events, and my thanks to Member Graves, who attended one of the Coffee with the Cops at the Legion. It's been very well received, and I think we have 1 or 2 more moving forward for the rest of April. Foot patrol, I touched on. Charges right now, we're sitting at 84 criminal charges to date, which is trending higher than last year, 8 of which are attributed to youth. And again, we spoke about 911 calls, and our assist calls, we're at 83 year to date. Sexual assaults, 2, one we've cleared by charge and one the Crown declined to proceed on, which makes our clearance rate very, very respectable in that regard. Our violent crime, again, trending where we want it to be, and total for the year 68. Solved 49 for a clearance rate of 72%, which is quite high. Major case management, we've had 2 that required some reporting through Power Case. We've had 10 Ontario Sex Offender Registry check-ins and follow-ups that we monitor for the first quarter, and 2 VI-class submissions. Property crime, total incidents, it's not correct at 134, but the total incidents, again, tracking for a clearance rate of 28% overall. School calls, we've had some very good luck with the schools. Again, I know this has been a topic that's been belabored with regards to the school board, but Emmanuel Christian has always been excellent. We've been in delivering the Be the Real You program, which has been done and very well received. We've also been in the high school delivering some presentations in which we've been invited to. And again, the benefit of that is, as we all know, is exponential. We do have a meeting set for, I believe it's May 2nd, the deputy and I, with the superintendent of Thames Valley, who reached out and wants to come in and meet with us. I'm assuming they're meeting with all police services, but just to push this forward and get the program back where it needs to be and kind of see exactly how we're going to deliver that. So there is some good news coming with that. Trouble with youth calls, 7 each month. School lectures, 2, 3, and 2. And the other one, Josh Hearn was invited to Assumption to read a book to a class, which was also very well received. So, situation tables. The situation table is running right now 1 per month, and we also sit on that. We've had no situations specifically for our service that we've brought forward. And the mental health calls, as I said, 4, 4, and 4. Tickets, with respect to traffic offenses, we're sitting at 264. Liquor 6 and other 6, which includes Cannabis Control Act under the provincial offenses. Rides, we're sitting at 23 for just under 4,000 vehicles stopped, 36 HTA warnings, and 33 roadside screening tests administered. With respect to impaired driving, we've charged 4 individuals in the first quarter. No use of force reports. Total prisoners processed for the first quarter is 30 males, 6 females, and 6 youth. 15 were released, and 15 we held for bail. Courses, we're in the midst of getting through the annual in-service training through the OPP for pistol, use of force, IRD, and first aid. So our members are participating in that. And presently, the deputies in Barrie dealing with an upgrade to our records management system that's being rolled out across the province, which the interface hasn't changed in 20 years since I started, so this is going to be a daunting task. Overall, total spent, as I mentioned, we're sitting at 24%. You'll see the breakdown between the service and the board accordingly. And total calls for service, January 253, February 269, and March 314. So I think we're sitting at about 22% overall for an increase in calls for service for the quarter. Subject to any questions with regards to the trends and comparisons, that's my report on that.
Seeing no, any questions? Vice Chair Barber.
Thank you. To the chief, the mobile speed sign obviously is seasonally related. Is it going to be maintained by the police service, or is Public Works going to help out in that regard?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. As you remember, and I'm not sure which one we're talking about, but the old speed trailer. Yes. It is basically a paperweight, unfortunately. So the technology is so old, and it's so old that you can't even get parts for it anymore, and we tried to repair it. It's currently sitting at the Board of Works, and it was purchased, I want to say 15 years ago through a grant that Chief Aylmer had obtained. So what we have now is a more modern version, which is something that the Public Works maintains through our request, and they're able to go put it out on a telephone pole or a light pole, and it's a little more incognito in that it gives us true data. The speed trailer will arguably change people's driving habits because you can see it like a cruiser, good or bad. So we request through Leah Hawley, any locations where traffic complaints come in, she deploys it, and then she gives us a printout of the data, which is temporal in nature. We have the date, the time, the speeds. So through consultation with the deputy, we're able to see when we need to put a police officer in these locations for traffic complaints or where we don't, because sometimes perception is the biggest issue. You know, we'll get people calling in thinking cars are flying at 80 kilometers an hour, and it certainly appears quick when you're standing there, but the data, you know, will say that, you know, the average is actually 48, and we've got no outliers. So it actually helps with our resource allocation on the cost benefit, and the Public Works is phenomenal in working with us on that, so.
Just model-wise, that's one that says your speed is such and such?
So without giving too many secrets away, there's one that does that has the, you know, your speed is, and there's another that you'll never even know is there. So yeah, we've got two options.
Through the chief, to get an invitation to the high school, does that come from the principal, or how do you folks are able to go in there?
I mean, I certainly can't speak to what the board policy is. I don't know how they're operating. My understanding is that some time ago, they really did downgrade it more onto the individual principals. Save and except that, the administrative staff at East Elgin all along have been phenomenal. We have still been in there. We've been supporting them. We've been invited. It certainly hasn't been as contentious as any of the other things you may have read in the media. So, yeah, I think what this meeting coming up with the superintendent of the board will do is just shed some clarity so that we're not, you know, playing in the gray. Everybody's going to be on the same page and know exactly what their expectation is and what ours is. So I think it'll be good moving forward.
All right, seeing no other questions, can we get a resolution for that?
That the reports of the Chief of Police regarding first quarter police activity and crime be received for information.
I get a mover and seconder? Member Graves and Member Andrews. All those in favor? And that's carried. And now I'll turn it over to you, Michelle, for 8.4.
Yep. Could we grab a resolution for 8.2? I missed that.
Yep, let's do a resolution for 8.2.
That the March 2025 budget reports presented by the Chief of Police be received for information.
Mover and seconder? Vice Chair Barber, Member Graves, all those in favor? Okay, that's good, and now we'll move on to 8.4.
Thank you. So. So this report is regarding board policies for review, and they're also being recommended for adoption at this meeting. The background to the presentation of these policies is that we had the introduction of the Community Safety and Policing Act, which has a section that requires Police Service Board to establish certain policies. In a previous meeting of the Police Services Board, we had Dave Preston, who is a procedure and policy development specialist, present regarding his services with other police service boards in the redevelopment of policies to meet compliance with this legislation. At that time, the board agreed to use Mr. Preston's services to revise the Aylmer Police Service Board policies. And previously, we did have policies in place that were last revised in 2016. And these would have conformed to the Police Services Act, which was replaced by new legislation. So a quick analysis of the policies provided by Mr. Preston. They have been reviewed by myself, the Chief of Police, and the Chair of the Board, just for accuracy and how they may be relevant to the Aylmer Police Service. And it's important to note that we have Mr. Preston helping us develop these policies so that they're consistent, they ensure compliance with legislation, and they mitigate our risk and liability. On our side, minimal changes were made to the policies that were provided by Mr. Preston. Of note, we did make a change to the code of conduct for board members. This had been something that was previously brought up in discussion about the use of social media. So we just have that in red there, that a member of the board shall not disclose to the public by any means, including social media, information obtained or made available in the course of their duties. And we also included section F, no member shall use social media to publish anything that is dishonest, untrue, offensive, disrespectful, constitutes harassment, is defamatory or misleading in any way. And that just sort of aligns with other policies that we've had in similar police service boards, as well as council in other municipalities, but we made sure it tailored to what the confidentiality level would be for a police service board. And just the key for the changes that were made in the attached policies, so the areas that were highlighted in teal were changes that had to occur due to the Community Safety and Policing Act, and the areas highlighted in green were questions that Mr. Preston had for the board and were reviewed, and we accepted the changes or made clarifications where possible, or where needed. So the recommendation of staff is to adopt the new board policies provided, as they will ensure our compliance with the Community Safety and Policing Act. So any questions I can help out.
Would you like to go through it line by line? How much time do you have? Go ahead.
Thank you. Was Mr. Preston's input of a great asset in this particular project? I know we were concerned initially about the cost.
Yeah, I feel that in reviewing these, they sort of fleshed out what we had in some areas and straightened things up, brought them into better alignment, and definitely, like I said earlier, there's going to help us mitigate risk and liability there. So I find that they are worded consistently as well. So I feel that we've brought up the standard now. So I do feel it was very valuable to have Mr. Preston work on these with us.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments, Chief?
I'll just make a comment with respect to Dave Preston and what he's been doing, and more importantly, like what you see for the board is very, very small in comparison to what he's doing for the operational service aspect. We were very fortunate to be taken on by him. He has 7 of the smallest police services in Ontario. We got the last spot after he came highly recommended. And I know many police services since have been trying to enlist his service, and he's full. So the thing with policy, I mean, the board stuff I don't think has changed that much. The operational stuff, we were very, very behind the 8 ball in. And, you know, sound policy for policing, as everything evolves, we make changes as police officers to policy that really should be written by lawyers and experts. And after, you know, you change the iteration of it so many times over the years, you don't really end up with sound policy. and it's outdated. So he's certainly moved us up to where we need to be with the CSPA in 2025. So my personal opinion is he's invaluable because this would be more than a full-time job for somebody, so.
Great, thank you, Chief, and thank you, Michelle. Can we get a resolution on that?
That report, PSB 06-25, regarding board policies for review be received for information and that the attached policies be approved for adoption by the board.
I get a mover and seconder. Member Andrews, Vice Chair Barber, all those in favor? And that's carried. And back to you for 8.5.
Yep. Okay, and further to the previous report, this is a report regarding a diversity, equity, and inclusion plan for the Aylmer Police Service. Again, arising from changes to the Community Safety and Policing Act, this plan is required by that legislation. And I would like to note, just despite having the legislation mandating this, Aylmer Police Service has long embraced these principles as parts of its regular operations. So writing this document was not really a difficult thing to do, as a lot of the things have already been in place. A quick analysis of the plan. It provides a demographic composition of the Aylmer community. So as we know, we kind of have a unique population here with representation from the Mennonite community. We made some alignments with the Aylmer Police Service and this community. So we have auxiliary members that are from the Low German Mennonite community. And we also have representation of female employees in the workforce as well as in the auxiliary, and as well as on the police service board. So we're showing a dedication to ensuring that its personnel reflects the diverse community it serves. The diversity, equity, and inclusion plan was aligned with the goals in the strategic plan. So they were about visibility, community outreach, facilities, equipment, and technology, and organizational effectiveness. So as I said, it's a lot of continuation of the things we're already doing. So within visibility and community policing, the strategies that are being implemented are collaborating with local schools, partnering with organizations such as Mennonite Community Services, maintaining a visible presence at local events, proactively sharing information in public spaces, and enhancing foot and bike patrols. The goal related to community engagement and outreach, the initiatives would include identifying service gaps to better reach victims from underrepresented groups, and reviewing our policies and public messaging to ensure inclusive language, tailoring public engagement sessions to encourage participation from diverse community members, and training officers in trauma-informed approaches to improve interactions with vulnerable populations. The second last goal is the physical infrastructure and technology. And as you know, we are upgrading the facilities to enhance privacy and dignity for victims, supporting staff mental health through workplace improvements, utilizing body-worn cameras to ensure unbiased enforcement, and increasing transparency and providing ongoing training in anti-racism, cultural awareness, and inclusive practices. And the last goal related to organizational effectiveness, the initiatives include implementing ongoing training for all staff, establishing mentorship opportunities, conducting policy audits, and creating pathways for underrepresented groups to explore careers in policing. So in conclusion, we have our DEI plan that fulfills legislative requirements under the Community Safety and Policing Act and just solidifies our commitment to inclusive policing.
Thank you for that. Any questions or comments from the board? Vice Chair Barber.
Thank you. Just a confirmation that it's, the board has routinely supported diversity and inclusion, and it's beginning to have very positive results.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none. Oh, Chief, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to, again, give a shout out to Michelle for her work on this because Sorry, as it's legislated within the CSPA, it is the board's responsibility, and this is something that Michelle did a lot of the heavy lifting on, and I just basically kind of helped her with some stats and some things, but a lot of work went into this as well. It's obviously very important and something that we're going to be able to action based on what was provided, so my thanks to her.
Yeah, I second that. Great work. Thank you. It's amazing to see how far we've come in a short period of time, and a lot of that is due to the hard work that you've put in, so thank you. All right, can we get a resolution on that?
And thank you, Chief, and thank you to the chair for those comments. So the resolution, that report PSB 07-25 regarding the Aylmer Police Service 2025-2028 Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Plan be received for information, and that the board approve and adopt the plan.
I get a mover and seconder. Member Andrews, Member Graves, all those in favor? And that is approved. Thank you. And on to 8.6, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll give a more synopsized version of this, but I kind of touched on it at council last week on a new initiative that we've taken on in 2025 in partnership with. So what we had noted was we were getting and seeing a significant amount of what they call bench warrants. A bench warrant is where somebody is charged, has been processed either on a release or has made some court appearances and then stops coming to court. The justice from the bench issues a warrant directing the police to bring that person back to court, back into the system. We were getting an influx of these warrants, and when we were arresting people on these probation fail to attend bench warrants, the officers do a very good job, especially in community policing, kind of debriefing those people that we deal with. And the common theme that was arising was, how am I supposed to get to St. Thomas? I don't have a car, I don't have a bike, I live in Port Burwell, I live in Vienna, I live in Aylmer. So that was something that we were starting to become live to. Insert, all of the ancillary risk that comes with arresting people. Obviously, anytime you put hands on someone, there's the potential for a resist, which is potential for using force, which is potential for injury, which is potential for, SIU liability and ancillary costs. It's also a risk having people in our cells. We're responsible for their well-being if something were to go wrong. That's, again, on the police officers, the service, and the board. So anytime that we can look at kind of streamlining a system that makes it a little bit better for everybody, we do, and this was one that I'm quite proud of. So in discussions with probation and their management there, we offered up space at the police station and said, you're more than welcome to work out of our office. We'll advertise it, you can advertise it, and people from Aylmer and Eastern Elgin County can come and report here. And that was immediately well received by probation. They got it up through their chain very quickly. Their management was very supportive. And to that end, we now have Ingrid Van Dyke working with us on Wednesdays and Thursdays every week. We've given her some office space back in the cell block, and people on probation are reporting, and the feedback has been exceptional. Piggybacking that, the reason we went with Wednesday is our embedded MCERT worker also works on Wednesdays. So she's there to kind of pick up where probation leaves off. If there's people that need systems navigations, if they need resources, if they just need somebody to talk to, Abby's there. So the partnership has actually really become an exponential partnership we're really seeing the dividends pay off. So I'm very proud of this program. I know probation's very proud of this program, and it's certainly a benefit. And I mean, the only comments that I've had that might be negative in nature, I believe we're kind of from the uninformed general public that, why are we catering to people who are charged? You know what, you don't want to deal with this, don't commit the crime. Can tell you a lot of the people that are on probation are kind of down hard on their luck, suffering from addiction. It's not that easy. And I can say we've certainly had some success stories with those that have been reporting to probation in this mechanism and keeping people out of custody. Let's face it, people that are breaching their probation, they're not going to jail anyway. They're not going to go do time for a breach of probation. But this just gives them a little bit more of kind of a chance and some more resources at hand to hopefully get themselves out of that rut and, become more productive with society. So subject to any questions, that's the update with respect to the probation partnership.
Vice Chair Barber.
Thank you. To the chief, a person on probation that has to report, is there some flexibility in the time that they have to report so that they coordinate with the times that the office is open?
So the relationships that most of these clients have with, and I can speak with our embedded worker right now, they're excellent. They can text, they call. If somebody's running late, if she needs to move her schedule, she does. Right now, we do the business hours because we also need to ensure that somebody's in there to staff to support her because she can't be in there alone. So if it were just operational officers in the afternoon, we couldn't guarantee that. So right now, we are just doing it within the business hours, but she has laterally moved. You know, she's come in on a Monday. Yeah, she is very adaptable.
Any further questions? Seeing none, can we get a resolution?
That report PSB 08-25 regarding probation reporting at the Aylmer Police Service be received as information.
Mover and seconder. Vice Chair Barber, Member Andrews, all those in favor? All right, and that's carried. Any questions or comments about correspondence? All right, we will move into closed.
That the Police Service Board shall move into a meeting close to the public at 10:06 a.m. to consider Chief of Police potential litigation, Chief of Police negotiations, and Chief of Police staffing update reports, and that consideration of these items being close to the public pursuant to Section 44(2) B, D, and E of the Community Safety and Policing Act 2019 as amended, as the subject matter pertains to B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including members of the police service or any other employees of the board, D, labor relations or employee negotiations, and E, litigation or potential litigation affecting the board, including matters before administrative tribunals.
Can I get a mover and seconder? Member Andrews, Member Graves, all those in favor? And we'll move into closed. All right, so can we get a,
That the board rise from the meeting close to the public at 10:21 a.m. and reports the following. That the board receive the reports of the chief of police regarding potential litigation, negotiations, and staffing update, and that the board provided direction to the chief of police.
can I get a mover and seconder? Member Andrews, Member Graves, all those in favor? Okay, and a resolution to adjourn.
That the board now adjourn at 10:22 a.m.
Mover and seconder? Member Andrews, Vice Chair Barber, all those in favor? And we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.